Hi, my friend Sam Villa here. Now, the French bob is a type of bob that's cut short near the jawline and paired with a fringe at the eyebrow. This bob cut became popular in France around the 1890s and has evolved over the centuries. Very reminiscent of 1920s Gatsby-esque flapper hairstyles. Now today, the French girl bob is known for its blunt cut, heavy texture, and beach wavy hair. To do something drastic, radical, rebellious, but still very chic, it's brilliant for so many reasons. Now you can see me taking my first section, which is a triangular section in the fringe area, from at the high point of the recession area to a triangular point at the top. The top point of the triangle, as you can see, does not go all the way back to the high point of the head. Check your balance using your fingers from one point to the opposite side. Now we will continue a horseshoe section from that recession point at the triangle all the way over to the opposite side. Notice how I'm working with the sectioning tooth of the comb, that wide part of the comb, great for sectioning. Continuing to the opposite side to the lower corner of the triangle at the high point of the recession area. Now we want to separate our front to back area. Notice the side area is sectioned back behind the ear, not necessarily a conventional way over the top of the ear. Notice how we use the comb to place the comb where it comes off the back of the head is where we draw this vertical line. Now we have our back area. Now we want to section out a triangular area in the nape area. Notice how we use the comb to determine where it comes off the head. That will be the high point of the triangle. From the corner of the hairline to that point, create your triangle. Now working from the top center point of that triangle to the left corner of the hairline. From a profile view, notice how we are combing from underneath and elevating vertically straight up. Be aware of your hand placed up against the head. Be aware of the length you are cutting on the opposite side of your hand. The line we are cutting is horizontal. We elevate vertically and we cut horizontally. When we release, you can see the silhouette is that of an almost graduated bob. Now we're going to work with the razor. Drop the entire back area down. We're going to work with vertical sections. Each vertical section will be over directed to the center. From a profile view, notice we elevate the hair horizontal. Notice the length underneath. We are going to overlap our length on top, overlap the underneath. Notice how I'll hold the razor like a pencil and rotate towards me, keeping my elbow down. Our next vertical section is parallel to the previous section and is over directed to the center. Notice my guide from underneath. Do not match the degree of shortness underneath. Overlap this length. Notice how the razor rotates. Allow the weight and the angle of the razor to remove the hair. A back view, working with the fine teeth of the comb, elevating horizontal and over directing to the center back. Notice the angle of the razor is approximately 45 degrees to ensure the proper cutting angle. Now we work to the opposite side, repeating the same procedure. Vertical sections on the left back, over directed to center back, following the guide. Each vertical section is parallel to the previous. Over directing to the center, allowing the weight of the blade to cut the hair. Now, let's move into our front right side. We will take a slight diagonal section and over direct to that vertical line we had behind the ear. We are not over directing to center back. We're going to carve out our line, the length, then we're going to slice inside. Over direct back, carve out the length, pick up the section, and slice inside. This will remove bulk and weight to give that bob its organic lived-in feel. Now moving to the opposite side and repeating the same procedure. Our sections are slightly diagonal forward, and we are over directing back to that corner, that line that we had that separated front to the side area. We are not over directing the sides to center back. Diagonal forward sections, parallel to the previous, over direct back to the vertical line behind the ear. So we are over directing to a stationary guide and then slicing inside. Remember, we started with a one length bob. Whatever reaches to a stationary guide is what comes off. Now, what gives this that French bob feel is the line does not drop to an A line. It actually raises up to a diagonal to the lip area. Now watch how I'm going to come in with a shear, and I'm just going to scan the line in, keeping it diagonal. As you can see, the diagonal line with the white comb. We highly recommend working with a white comb on dark levels of color. We move to the opposite side, use the comb to the lip area from just behind the ear, diagonal up to the lip. Notice when scanning, place the guide blade on your ring finger and your action blade, the thumb blade, moves on top. In the top area, separate front to back. I like to slice the middle part, makes it easier to control. Now from the high point of the head to the ear, separate front to back on both sides. Now we are working with just that top area in the crown. Take a horizontal section. Now elevate the section up above a horizontal line, diagonal, looking at the guide from underneath and leaving the length above that at least 1.5 to 2 inches longer. So you can see how I got a visual, see where that guide is, and I slid my hand out even longer. So we are detaching the crown top areas from underneath. Lower the head, lower the chair, so that you are able to get to that degree of elevation. Everything now is over directed to a stationary guide. Remember, we are working only with that back crown area. Combing from underneath ensures to get the elevation up and above a horizontal line. Notice how the razor rotates. A very soft, delicate touch with the razor. The line we are cutting is horizontal across the crown. Notice how always looking underneath for a guideline. Visually establish the guideline, slide past it, and notice I'm taking longer strokes with the razor to ensure a softer edge. This is what we did in the back area, elevated up and brought everything back to that stationary guide. Now we're taking the front, elevating straight up off the high point and taking every section over directed back to that high point. So you can see how we've taken a slice in the back as a guide. Notice how I comb and grab when I'm ready. That's when I come in with my finger position. Looking for the guide. Notice now how we're right up above the top high point. In order for me to get to that length easier, notice how I tilted the head back. It allows me to get to the degree of elevation and not over direct so much. Move the head so that you are comfortable to get to the cutting position. Horizontal section across, over directed back to the high point of that head. Notice how I'm combing from behind. When I'm ready to cut, I slide my hand position in. Notice how I dropped my guide to ensure I'm not cutting too short. Last section. Elevate everything up. Comb from behind, grab, comb. Now finger position, cutting a horizontal line across. Whatever reaches, we take. Now we're going to move into the fringe area. We will start at the top high point of the triangle of the fringe. Take a small section. This will act as your guide. Bring this down, place it on the hairline, and scan. That acts as my guide. Now, horizontal section in front of that guide, standing behind, now over direct back towards you. By over directing back to a stationary guide, we will create max amount of length at the hairline. A great way to layer a fringe by thinking inside out. Establish your guide at the point, bring everything back to that. That established the layers or graduation inside of the fringe area, then go after the length. Notice how I let that fall with gravity over my hand and now scanning into it. Last section, notice stand behind, over direct back, allow it to collapse, and visually cut to the guide. Now watch the degree of softness we have on the top and look at the maximum amount of length that we have. We could almost stop here. Yet, to ensure we get the French bob, now come in and start to carve out the length of the fringe. Notice when we're carving, we're working freehand and we're working with the deep part of the shear. Be sure to include the entire section you had as a triangle. Take that off. My product of choice is Redken's Pillow Proof. It maximizes your time, speeds up the blow drying process, and also enhancing with conditioning benefits. You can see how natural and organic and lived in a French bob can look. Here you see the French bob finished smooth. Here you see the French bob dried with a diffuser. Notice the attitude of the French bob. It has a light feel, airy, but not too done. Thanks for watching, my friends.